Hey kiddies, it's Triple Feature Tuesday, and this week the working title I had for this one was Ew, but upon further reflection I think the more appropriate one is Ugh. Amazing Grace, how sweet. That's right, this Triple Feature is just awful. I know the overall title of this film, of this series of reviews is Terrible Triple Features, but sometimes even I go too far. And I want to, add a little bit of credit to myself because I actually sat through this one yesterday. Usually, or a lot of the times, I will have seen most, if not all, of the movies beforehand, and so I'm working from memory. But every so often, I will actually just sit and do it if I'm really that into it. And this one, gah. So, not to bury the lead any further, this week we're going to look at just the worst movies ever made that feature transsexualism or transgenderism, at their forefront, and handle them just purposefully poorly and just awful. All of these movies are just wrong to varying degrees, and it just, for whatever reason, they all seem to have themes of people changing their gender for reasons that range from birth, actual just deviance, and revenge. So our menu is going to include Myra Breckinridge, Forbidden Zone, and Terra Firma. Now, Myra Breckinridge, I'd never heard of this movie before. I have to give credit to the Movie Fighters podcast, Matt Wilson and Chris Sims. Thanks, guys! They ranked this as the worst movie they've ever seen. If I'm judging them a little bit, they sort of seem to be lightweights in terms of bad movies. Because I did this one and two other ones that are just terrible. Anyway, Myra Breckinridge, based on the Gore Vidal novel. Gore completely disavowed this movie, disowned it, and thought it was a terrible, terrible joke. Adapted and directed by Michael Sarn, who, after the completion of this film, was working in a pizza parlor for a great many years before he was ever allowed near a movie set, never directed again. It stars Raquel Welch and Rex Reed as Myra and Myron Breckinridge, who, according to one interpretation of the film, Myron undergoes a sex change operation to become Myra to destroy modern masculinity and redefine gender norms forever and ever. She does this with, rape and attempted rape and, flashing. Myra gets a job working at an acting academy for her uncle, Buck Loner, played by John Huston. She's just doing it to ruin people's lives. Most specifically, Buck Loner, Uncle Buck, Rusty, and his girlfriend Mary. And through the course of the film, which I gotta tell you, for a movie that at its heart is about taking revenge on modern gender norms, this is a pretty boring movie. There's a lot of just nothing happening for long stretches, and as much as I enjoy staring at Raquel Welch for hours on end, it gets really dull. There are a bunch of high points, and by high points I mean, Jesus God, they put this on film. Not the least of which being John Carradine of B-movie Mad Scientist fame, performing Myron's sex change at the beginning of the film, to Raquel Welch pegging Rusty. And if you don't know what pegging is, I'm not going to explain it to you. You can look it up. This is, nominally a family video series. Okay, it's not. There's no way I'm not getting in trouble for this video. Interestingly enough, these movies, aside from having the superficial thing in common, they actually structurally are very, very similar in terms of there is only a nominal superficial plot where that is only there to get us from episode to episode. So a lot of the movie is just Raquel Welch monologuing about certain gender types, complaining about these younger actors versus older Hollywood, and Mae West pretending that she's still Mae West. She's in this, Mae West. She is supposed to be like a big agent power broker who sleeps with all of her male actor clients, including Tom Selleck. Performs a musical number for reasons. Another thing that was kind of neat is it sort of presupposes natural-born killers in terms of perpetually cutting to other things. I think in Natural-Born Killers, Oliver Stone was trying to, demonstrate short attention span, people clicking around on channels all the time, which is weird because Myra Breckinridge is doing the same sort of thing, and, watching them, you could almost see Oliver Stone stealing from Myra Breckinridge, which, why would anybody steal from this movie? We're going in an order of increasing grossness, and this one, not terribly. I mean, it was the 70s, and so they're showing a lot of things, but not getting nearly as scatological as you could, and the movies that come later will. I think the biggest frustration for anybody watching the movie would be that it's all presented as possibly a dream sequence by the end of the movie, which is something of a giant cop-out, and just very, very boring, but really trying to push buttons and be offensive, and it's sort of much in the same way like a 12-year-old would. It is really not that impressive a movie at all, considering how much controversy it engendered. Moving up in decades from the 70s to the 80s, we have Richard Elfman's Forbidden Zone. I have a very love-hate relationship with the Forbidden Zone, in that the movie is terrible and disgusting and horrible, but at the same time the music is really, really great, because Richard Elfman is Danny Elfman's brother, and this is the first movie that he ever did the music for. It's actually starring Oingo Boingo. Oingo Boingo originally began as the Mystic Knights of Oingo Boingo, which was a theatrical musical troupe that was eventually condensed into a new wave rock band in the 80s, headlined by Danny Elfman. This movie, again, it's really just trying to get to the next musical number or comedy sketch, and all of these comedy sketches take place in the sixth dimension, the titular Forbidden Zone, which I'm going to go ahead and just spoil it for you. It's hell. Forbidden Zone is hell, and it's very, very raunchy and disgusting, and it stars Hervé Villechaize, Tattoo, and Susan Terrell as the king and queen of the sixth dimension that are just ruining lives for everybody, and the Hercules family lives, their house is on top of an entrance to the Forbidden Zone, and the kids keep going in, and then eventually everybody's going in, and everybody's singing, dancing, and being horrible. Our requisite transgendered issue, future writer and director Matthew Bright here billed as Toshiro Baloney, playing both Squeeze-It and his twin brother / sister, Renee Henderson. Renee was born male, but wants to be a woman, and at some point gets stuck in Forbidden Zone before everybody else does. And she is just every bad cliche that you expect people that don't understand anything to be doing, because the movie is basically there to create a reaction in the audience. I know, every movie is there to do that. This movie is trying to specifically create anger and disgust, which it does to great effect, featuring, rampant nudity, much more blackface than any movie past, ever should have, and an awful lot of Cab Calloway, because Danny Elfman loves Cab Calloway. I mean, you can't really talk about Forbidden Zone, much like The Matrix. You have to sort of see it for yourself, and once you do, you'll never get some of those images out of your head. But, if it's any consolation, you'll never get the tunes out of your head, of which there are quite many. They use a lot of older music that the characters are lip-syncing to, and then a couple of really good Danny Elfman tunes. So, again, I want to hate Forbidden Zone fully, but I just can't. Finally, we have what may be Lloyd Kaufman's magnum opus, Terra Firma. Lloyd Kaufman, co-creator of The Toxic Avenger, created Terra Firma basically as the movie version of his book that he co-wrote with James Gunn, Everything I Need to Know About Filmmaking I Learned from The Toxic Avenger. And it's basically what it is to make a trauma movie, and of course it's exaggerated and ridiculous, but I'd like to believe that on some level this is what it's like working for Lloyd Kaufman on trauma films. Scatological beyond anything you've ever seen, nudity like there's no tomorrow, the combination of which does not create anything positive. It's really just revolting on just about every level. I have to sort of apologize. There was this like 4 to 5 year period where I made every single person I know watch it because I still think it's fascinating. I just, there's always something happening on the screen, and there's always like a zillion things happening on the screen. There are jokes being thrown at you from every direction. A lot of them are funny, and a lot of them are just, poo-poo humor, much like Myra Breckinridge. This is very similar films in terms of just bad juvenile puns and social satire that a middle schooler would come up with, because like in Terra Firma, no matter what, you're still gonna have, there's still the Toxic Avenger running around in the background, or Sergeant Kabuki Man, or Debbie Rochon having yet another nude scene, which I'm not complaining about the Debbie Rochon, but it's just like, after a while, how are we supposed to take this movie seriously? And the answer is, you're not. That's why you can sort of, not necessarily forgive, but you can stomach Forbidden Zone and Terra Firma because they are winking at you at every moment. They know how ridiculous this movie is. Myra Breckinridge, I don't think anybody on Myra Breckinridge really understood how stupid the movie they were making was, which is sad to a great extent. Terra Firma, I mean, it opens with a woman ripping a guy's leg off and beating him to death with it, and then proceeds to defeatusing. There's escalator deaths. There's people getting amputated by trucks. And that's before you get into the really, really disgusting stuff. Oh yeah, Will Keenan is our bad guy, and he was born. I don't think hermaphrodite is the correct term anymore, but I'm not sure what is. But he was born with sex organs of both genders, and his abusive father, Ron Jeremy, basically drove him insane and mutilated him, and so now he's going around killing everybody else. And the thing of it is, Will King is really charming. Not necessarily in this movie. I watched him in other things like Operation Midnight Climax and Romeo and Juliet, and he's actually really, really a lot of fun. I'm not saying don't go out and watch Operation Midnight Climax, but go to YouTube. There are clips. He's actually a very, very great physical comedian. Again, it's all ramped up to 1,000 and presented as the stupidest thing in the world and really, really gross. And I honestly, I can't tell you more about Terra Firma, or else I'm going to have to put like NSFW everywhere on this video, and I'd rather not do that. So go out. Actually, no, don't watch any of these. These are just horrible, unless you want to join me and watch it, and we can, throw things at my television set. This has been, featuring Myra Breckinridge, Forbidden Zone, and Terra Firma, and I'll see you next week with something that like has ponies or good comedy, just something that's not anything resembling this. I'm sorry. I'll see you then.